Picture this. You show up at the port with your suitcase, passport in hand, and that rush of excitement you get the first time you lay eyes on the ship. Music is playing. Families are snapping pictures. The boarding process is moving along. And suddenly a cruise line agent checks your documents, asks you to step aside, and tells you that you can't get on. There's no worse way to start a vacation than watching thousands of people board while you're stuck in the terminal, powerless. Most people don't realize cruise lines have strict rules. Some make sense, others are totally surprising. That can wreck your trip before it even begins. Anything from a tiny passport mistake to some random item in your luggage can turn into a big issue. Today on Cruise Hacker, I'm sharing 10 real, documented, and little-known reasons you could be denied boarding in 2026. Number 6 will catch you off guard, because there's nothing worse than missing out on a cruise before you've even set sail. Let's jump into the first one. Number 1. Wrong or damaged documents. This is easily the most common, and sometimes most surprising, reason you could be left ashore. Something as minor as a bent passport cover, a ripped page, water damage, or a photo peeling off can turn your dream trip into a nightmare instantly. To port officials, a damaged document is no better than having no document at all. And that's not all. If you're cruising in Europe and aren't an EU citizen, your passport has to meet extra requirements. It needs to be valid for at least 3 months after you leave the Schengen area. And it has to have been issued within the last 10 years. If you miss these little technical details, you can be denied boarding on the spot. No negotiation. And there's another big change coming. ITAIAS, the new pre-travel authorization for visa-exempt travelers, will start being implemented in the last quarter of 2026. So, even if you used to travel without paperwork, now you might need electronic approval before you get to the port. Without it, you just won't be allowed to board. And if that weren't enough, there's still the most ridiculous hurdle, a simple typo. Just one wrong letter on your ticket, a missing last name, or your name's in the wrong order compared to your passport, and the system flags you as a mismatch. Cruise Hacker tip. Carefully review your passport and compare every detail, letter by letter, with your booking and online check-in information. If something's off, get it fixed ahead of time. Trying to sort it out on boarding day is nearly impossible. 2. Incomplete or wrong info in your booking. It's incredibly frustrating to show up at the port sure everything's in order, only to find out a tiny admin detail in your booking could keep you off the ship. Usually, it's nothing major, maybe a missing middle name, a wrong birth date, or a document that doesn't exactly match what's on your booking. For cruise lines, these aren't just small mistakes. They're red flags that stop them from confirming who you are or if you're cleared to travel. It happens way more often than you think. People book in a rush, mistype a number, mix up their last names, or use the name from their social media instead of what's on their ID. In the system it seems minor, but for the boarding staff, it's enough to stop everything, call for a supervisor, and often block you from boarding until it's fixed if it can be. And in the middle of the port hustle, with thousands of passengers boarding, something that could have been handled with a quick email a week before suddenly becomes an impossible problem to solve right then and there. Even tiny things like, my ticket says Anna, but my passport says Ana Maria, can ruin the whole trip. And the worst part is, if the cruise line decides the mistake was your fault, you don't get any refund at all. 3. Port regulations beyond the cruise line's control. At some ports, especially in the US, Canada, Australia, and Asia, the Port Authority decides who gets on board. This usually happens in places with strict immigration rules, ports with health alerts, or regions with particular security risks. Sometimes, a passenger might have a perfect booking, all the right documents, and full approval from the cruise line. But if the Port Authority marks you as inadmissible in their system, nobody can override that call. They can stop you from boarding for all sorts of reasons. If you don't meet health requirements, your passport's not valid long enough, you need a visa, or your name partially matches one on an immigration alert, among plenty of others. Some countries have strict enforceable rules. Here's a simple one. In some Caribbean spots, civilians aren't allowed to wear camouflage. If you step ashore like that, you could be fined or even detained. Cruise blogs and the media warn about these details. Check the rules for your specific route. It's incredibly confusing. By law, The cruise line can't give you details, so you're just stranded with no chance to appeal right then and there. Cruise hacker tip: always check the rules for the country you're boarding from, not just the cruise line, and look into visa requirements for ports like Turkey or Egypt if your itinerary includes them, even if you're only stopping briefly. On Google, try searching port entry requirements along with the country and year. Updates change every year. 4. Policies on pregnancy, age, and unaccompanied minors. Many families show up at the port without realizing that cruise lines have strict rules about minimum age and adult supervision. Industry-wide, pregnant guests who are more than 23 or 24 weeks along at any point during the cruise won't be allowed to board. Babies under 6 months old usually aren't allowed on board. For longer or transatlantic cruises, the minimum age rises to 12 months. Minors can't travel alone or without the proper paperwork, like custody documents, notarized permissions, or travel authorizations. If an adult can't legally prove they are allowed to travel with a minor, boarding stops right there, even if your intentions are good. Cruise lines won't take risks with custody issues or child safety, so their protocols are extremely strict. Cruise hacker's tip: get a doctor's note that clearly states how many weeks pregnant you are and your estimated due date, and bring a printed copy with you. If your cruise has more than 2 days at sea in a row, double-check the minimum age requirement for babies for that particular route. 5. Boarding dress code. Most people don't realize that showing up in inappropriate clothing can actually delay or prevent you from boarding. This is especially true at ports with extra security, where things like bare feet, wet clothes, going shirtless, or wearing offensive outfits can get you turned away, at least temporarily. It's rare, but there have been real cases. Cruise lines take their image and safety very seriously. If you show up in something that's seen as risky, disrespectful, or simply not suitable for the setting, staff may ask you to change before you're let on board. Usually it's sorted out quickly, but at busy boarding times, having to run back to change can be a logistical headache and might even mean you miss your boarding slot. Personal hygiene rules. Yes, they really do exist. Almost nobody talks about this, but cruise lines take it very seriously. If you show up at check-in with a very strong odor, whether it's poor hygiene, sweat, clothes that smell like smoke, or super intense perfume, the crew can see it as a health risk or a problem for everyone on board. It's not about judging you. It's about keeping a healthy environment in shared, closed spaces with thousands of people living together for days. Sometimes staff may pull you aside for a private chat and ask you to change, freshen up, or even wait to board until things are sorted out. And while it may sound harsh, if they think the problem will continue once you're on board, they can refuse to let you board entirely. On a cruise ship, hygiene isn't just about being polite. It's part of public health protocols. 7. Not following health protocols. Since 2020, cruise lines and ports have tightened their protocols. Even now, with no active pandemic, strict rules are still in place. In 2026, you'll still have to fill out health questionnaires before boarding. And there are checks at the terminal. If you have a fever or symptoms of anything contagious, you could be denied boarding. You might also be turned away if you didn't share relevant medical info on your form, need medical care you haven't declared, or have recently been exposed to an infectious disease, depending on the rules in that country. And cruise lines don't forget. If you broke health protocols on a previous cruise, like refusing a medical check, hiding symptoms, using banned substances, or skipping quarantine, your name gets flagged in their system. In serious cases, that history can stop you from ever boarding again. And it's not just about pandemics. If you've had a declared contagious disease, been involved in food-related incidents, deliberate poisonings, or behaved in ways that endanger others' health, the cruise line may decide you're not safe to have on board. On the water, the health of everyone comes before any individual's right to travel. 8. Prohibited items. Something that's perfectly legal at home can be totally banned on a cruise ship. Every day, thousands of suitcases go through scanners before reaching cabins. If staff spot something prohibited, like irons, heaters, knives, drones, uncertified electronics, toy weapons, or flammable liquids, you could be held up or, in serious cases, not allowed to board. Sometimes, passengers don't mean any harm. They just packed something that's fine in a hotel, but is considered risky at sea. Things that create heat, pressure, or any kind of hazard, like candles, homemade liquor in open bottles, or metal tools, can make boarding a real headache. Even if the item gets confiscated, cruise lines can still deny you boarding if they think you're a safety risk. Cruise hacker tip. Always check your cruise line's official list before you pack. Every cruise line has its own rules, and checking them before your trip can save you hours caught up in inspections. 9. Unpaid debts with the cruise line. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Some people try to board, not realizing they owe money to the cruise line. It might be from an old cancellation you didn't pay, a penalty you still owe, a declined payment, or even charges from a previous cruise that were never settled correctly. If the system finds an unpaid balance, your boarding gets blocked automatically. And the worst part, sorting out a payment issue with the cruise line's finance department at the port can take hours. If the ship has a tight schedule, and they all do, you might end up missing your cruise because nobody can clear you in time. 10. Passengers blacklisted for bad behavior. Cruise lines share information with each other when a passenger has been involved in serious incidents. Violence, vandalism, assault, extreme drunkenness, harassment, tampering with security, or anything that puts others at risk. These passengers end up on internal, non-public blacklists that can stop them from boarding in the future. Not just on one line, but on several. Most people don't realize that insulting staff, ignoring security instructions, causing damage, or making a scene can have consequences far beyond your current trip. Cruise lines would rather lose a customer than risk the comfort of thousands. Cruise hacker tip. If you've ever had an incident on board, even a minor one, reach out to the cruise line before booking your next trip. It's better to check that you're in the clear than to get an unpleasant surprise at the terminal. And of course, don't troll the cruise line or the port on social media. Don't argue with security and keep calm if something goes wrong. Everything gets recorded. And by 2026, the industry will be even less tolerant of disruptive behavior. Cruise lines don't refuse boarding on a whim. They do it because every ship is a closed community with thousands on board, where safety, health, and getting along are essential. And if missing your cruise isn't bad enough, missing it over something you could have avoided is even worse. Now you know the 10 most surprising reasons you could end up stranded in 2026. And more importantly, how to avoid each of them. If you want to cruise smart and stress-free, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments, which of these reasons surprised you most? Do you know anyone who was denied boarding? See you on the next embarkation, right here on Cruise Hacker.